Hello, everyone. I hope that you all are doing well. And today, welcome once again to the Spotlight interview series of TCI What We Need campaign. So today we have Silvestre. Silvestre is with us from Colombia. So we'll start the interview with asking Silvestre to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I want to thank you for this invitation for TCI. From TCI, for me, I'm very thankful for doing this job with you. My name is Silvestre Barragán. I'm located in Bogota, Colombia, and I'm the co-director of A.L.C.E, Abolition of Logics of Confinement and Punishment. I'm a survivor of psychiatric violence. I'm an expert by experience. I'm a mad activist and a trans activist too. And that's where my work comes from.
So thank you so much, Silvestre, for introducing yourself. And I would like to ask, where are you located? Like, where is your organization located, and what is your association with your organization? Can you briefly explain about the work which A.L.C.E is doing at Colombia?
Yes, so as I was saying, we are in Bogota, Colombia, which is the capital of Colombia. And I'm a co-director of everything that has to do with the peer support, which is the grassroots work. I also work with the Mad Popular School. And I link this work with the advocacy work that the organization does, that A.L.C.E does. And what we do and our inspiration for our work comes from the fact that in Colombia, there are no organizations from civil society that work in psychiatric violence. Most of the organizations that we have in Colombia are organizations that are based according to diagnosis or are more work with psychiatrics or institutions. So what inspires us and what motivates us is to be to have the enough effort to make this a whole social movement, not only in Bogota, but also in Colombia.
Yes, thank you so much, Silvestre, for this brief response. And we have been reading all of your work, which you have been sharing with us under the TCI fellowship, and we are so glad to have you with us as a TCI fellow. So my next question to you will be: can you please share with the audience about the GAM group, the peer support group in A.L.C.E which you have developed, and what are the activities which you take, which you do in under the GAM group to support people with psychosocial disabilities?
Yes. So our mutual support group is a strategy. It's a classic strategy that has been used by people that are survivors of psychiatry. These are inspired in the mutual support groups of alcoholic people. It's based on people who are living the same experience of you, so you can all support each other. So that was what we were inspired of. This Judy Chamberlain is also an inspiration for this as a response to psychiatric violence. So our work started there from a grassroots perspective. And what we do is to meet each other and talk about our emotions, to share our experiences, because what we've seen is that there's so little information that is not from specialists, and all of the times that specialists narrate our experiences are very negative. So the nucleus is that to be able to recognize our necessities and other necessities. And what we've done is to expand this work understanding what mutual support is. So what we do in this sense is crops from the GAM, which is a way to pick all of the emotional resources that we have within each other, and that links with pedagogy and the popular school. So how everything that we have been told all our lives, that our life experience are damaged and are not useful, we make a sense out of it, because all of this knowledge that we get living with our lives and the barriers that society puts us is very significative within us. So this is what we do. We have different ways to go about it. We have gathered different tools, for example, karaoke, the mutual support karaoke. So through voice and expression, we can let go of emotions. And also, this has taken us to other ways of understanding subjective discomfort, like soma, which makes us see how the power structures do not affect us individually, but in a collective matter, where all of the oppressions that people with disabilities, psychosocial disabilities live. Sorry, I lost connection. Can be get to other instances. And this links with the other axis of the work of A.L.C.E, like the popular school. And how this can bring us together different necessities that get together in advocacy work that can be either legal work, but also how can it be read from the popular perspective as us retaking power, and how we get a strategic positions towards the power that has affected us, and how peer support in this perspective is very significant. So for example, closing 2003, we created a fair to think about solidarity economies between peers, because the access to capital for people with disabilities is very difficult. So this fair was an opportunity to get together and to gather resources, economic resources for everybody in such hard times as the end of the year. And this is something that we want to keep going forward. How can we get together and better our living conditions?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing in a very brief way, Silvestre, about the GAM and what activities you take on in during the GAM in the GAM group. So I would like to now, you mentioned about advocacy and legal things. So I would like to ask you about like, how do you engage with organizations, other organizations? How you actually do like national advocacy for inclusion of people with psychosocial disabilities?
Of course. So I told you about the structure, like the mutual group, the GAM, the popular school, and the incidence group, advocacy group. And we also have an investigation group. So what we do is through GAM, we recognize the necessities. So for example, reasonable adjustments, accessibility, and also anticipated directions, and how through these experiences that we gather from mutual support, how can we take them to other levels if it's required? Because it's a way to also understand how historically what we have been shown is that given the power asymmetry from the hierarchy, psychiatric hierarchy, and people, we need to be able to gather some tools and to create tools that attack this power from where it's created. So that's what's important about the relationship between the legal and the medical perspectives. So in that sense, when we gather this information, we try to intervene. And what we do in incidents is to try to understand the framework, like the global framework, and how do the confinement works. How do confinement works? How are confinements working in Colombia, and how can we dismantle them? And how can we get to a point where confinement, it's not the way out, and we create other ways of support that impede people being deprived of their freedom and being confined?
Thank you so much, Silvestre. So this was like my last question. We will stop the interview here. So I want to thank all the listeners for listening to the interview, and thank you, our fellow Silvestre from Colombia, for participating in this webinar series. So we look forward, and I will request all of the audiences to stay tuned for the next interviews. Thank you, Silvestre. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wakar, for this invitation. And I want to say hello, and I want to give a greeting for all of the people who are listening, and for them to be on the lookout for all of the great work that TCI does.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.